That's why I do not disturb. In fact, when I do that,
I think it does it by default now.
I have a big data, but I have a different account.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I just switched the other account, and it has absolutely nothing that does not configured.
Yeah.
And then I just use it to connect with them, and that way you're pretty sure no notifications will be popping up.
Yeah.
I've managed to go my entire career without an HR instance. I'm not on a projector.
That's true for most people, but most people don't have to worry as much.
David and I go to Burning Man together, so he knows this about me. Better than not.
I'm sorry. You make me sign an NDA.
I have just come into possession of the social ticket. I've come into possession of the social ticket that I now need to own. I know, I'm trying to see if I can just answer one of these people rather than.
I mean, why not both?
Well, first I'll see if this person still wants to see.
Yeah, the kid.
If you have if you had your slides and you're projecting, you're not going to accidentally mix it in.
Okay,
So the folks. Oh shit! Yeah. To the folks in the back of the room, we're about to get started. Please take your seats. Yeah, I'm just going to put up the note well for a second. All right, so welcome back to DNS Service Discovery. Just very quickly, for those of you who weren't at the previous session or any other session, this is covered by the note well. Please, if you haven't done so, please read it. If you have several years ago, read it again. It's not that interesting, but it's really important. The two main points that I always highlight are your IPR requirements. So if you know about patents related to this stuff, there are rules that you need to follow. And also we will be enforcing the IETF Code of Conduct, which generally covers being nice to one another. So without further ado, Christian.
Do I really have to be on the course there, or is it?
Well, otherwise the anvil is going to miss you.
No, oh, yeah.
is anybody able to Jabber?
Isn't that thing self-dating or something? No.
There's a human that controls it, I think.
Oh, okay.
If someone could go on Jabber and just, you know, do that thing.
Okay.
I can do Jabber.
So we have a lot of time to discuss Dnssd privacy requirement. In fact, we have spent a lot of time on that already. I started this work, and Daniel Kaiser came to work with me a couple of months after that in March of 2016. And it went through various iterations in the group. And eventually, we decided a couple of years later to not really push for a solution because we could not get consensus on the solution. But we excised from the proposal of a solution the analysis part, which was basically the privacy requirement. And the general consensus at the time, that was in 2018, was that these requirements were useful because it was interesting to the stake in the ground to have a requirement paper saying, hey, when you do discovery, and especially if you are using a multicast protocol, whatever it is, then you have to be concerned about requirements. And if I understand correctly, the working group last call on this draft is almost finished?
Yes. So we started the working group last call a few weeks ago, and it extends to the end of this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you still have a couple of days to explain why it's great and we should really publish it, or not. So what started that effort is that when MDNS, Dnssd in general, but MDNS in particular, is a rather noisy and leaky protocol. It was done to be, quick, zero configuration, etc. But the use of broadcast and the use of identifiers in the broadcast allows people to track who's doing what and when. And that's generally a bad idea. So you can have some kind of a bad actor there. It's there. And the bad actor will be listening, and you could extract the fact that someone is contacting someone, or that what their address, what they are doing, what kind of application, etc., which is further for all kinds of metadata acquisition and tracking. So what we want to do is private discovery in which those bad actors that are listening. Can I do that? Is there? Yeah. In which the bad actors cannot gather information by merely watching the exchanges. And we went through various kind of solutions. There are various solutions to that thing. It's one of those problems in which you could slice it in different ways. I am not particularly attached to one solution or another, but I'm attached to the idea that this problem should be recognized and we should try to solve it. As I said, we excised the requirement from the draft that we had before, and we already presented that. Who was at the London IETF a year and a half ago? Yeah, okay. So you must have seen those slides already, okay? So we went through delineating the three big scenarios of discovery. The first scenario is when you want to find a printer or when you want to find a fixed device, whatever it is. And in that scenario, basically, you don't care that people discover that there is a printer on the network, because of course there is a printer at the network. But what you do care is that it'd be better if you did not identify who is using the printer at what time. And that's really the requirement there. To give an example of how MDNS, for example, doesn't completely meet that requirement, MDNS, in order to participate, the guy who's doing the discovery has to initiate MDNS, and to do that, they have to broadcast their host name on the local network. And that broadcasting of the host name is a way of tracking you. So that it's easily fixed. It's not hard to do, but it's not done yet. The real requirement for discovery is for peer-to-peer scenarios. And I say, for example, the airport scenario. You are in an airport lounge and you are preparing a presentation with a colleague and you are discovering each other. It'd be better if the people who are also in the airport lounge did not immediately identify who's doing what. I mean, because that might reveal that you have this collaboration going on. It might reveal all kinds of things. It's a bad idea. So here we have, in these scenarios, we got a piece of feedback that the man in the hat was not identified properly in the picture as the bad actor. So the man in the hat is hiding in the background, is listening to what's happening. And because all these messages are sent in clear text, you can see them on the network. And it's obvious how you see them if they are multicast, but even if they are sent as Dnssd with a Dnssd server, as long as you can get the flow of messages, you are going to identify that David here is looking for Stuart's laptop name and finding it on the network, and you can discover that. So that's the kind of stuff we want to not happen. And there is the third scenario is a variant of that with wearable devices. If you have wearable devices and you use these kind of discovery scenarios to send broadcast messages to to initiate communications, not only do you discover that there is this communication, but you can track the person doing that. Like, if in order for your watch to discover your iPhone, the iPhone has to broadcast its presence on the waves, then that becomes a beacon that anybody can track. And so these are basically the scenarios. And the purpose of the draft is just to delineate those scenarios, delineate that we have a problem, and effectively get that on the record to commit ourselves to fixing it later by whichever way is adequate. And that's pretty much where we are. And basically, my say, hey, we have been trying to bang that message for some time now. Are we done yet? I mean, can we publish it? And so can we?
So, could we have a show of hands for folks who have read this draft?
Is that like maybe 4 or 5?
Yes. Could we ask you to just say a quick word of your opinion on, is this good to go, or if you have concerns?
Chris wrote Apple. I think it's good to go.
Thank you.
Tim Wattenberg, yeah. So if I had any substantial feedback, then I would have posted it on the mailing list. So, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks. All right, so we're going to confirm on the list. I think we're good to go, right?
What?
Let's confirm it on the list. Let the West go to the end of the week, but otherwise we're good to go, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we're going to let the working group last call go until the end of the week. Or I forget the exact date that it's running to, but so sometime, I think, either end of this week or next week, and see if we have anyone speaking up before then. But otherwise, I think we're good to go and ready to submit this to the ISG.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christian. And so that is our current state of the art for privacy. We might have more in the pipeline once this is published, but I think that's it for now. Does anyone have any other topics they want to discuss? Otherwise, we might be able to adjourn.
In the Java room, Ted says time. I guess that means you want to say something.
I think he's saying that he's read the draft.
Oh, yeah, he read the draft.
Yeah. Thanks, Ted. All right, then we might have go ahead, Daniel.
So, Daniel Migo Erickson. I just have a comment regarding the first scenario. So one thing is concerned how we make the discovery, but looking at who is being connected to the printer is another thing. I would say there is the DNS part as well. Even though you're using TLS, maybe you can see still this IP is connected to that one. So.
Well, you will know that someone is doing a TLS connection to the printer. And hopefully it's a TLS connection and it doesn't give the text of the document in the clear. But okay. You will know it is a printer because that's not a secret. I mean, you are in this hotel lobby and they have a printer for everybody to use. It's there. You know it's there. You're not trying to hide the fact that there is a printer. What you want to not disclose is who exactly is using the printer. So suppose that you are using, say, MAC address randomization, so you cannot be identified your MAC address or by your IP address. You want to not have the discovery protocol spill out identifiable information, like a host name or something like that.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right. I think we're then ready to adjourn, and we may have beat a record in terms of shortest IETF session ever. Congratulations, everyone. And we will hopefully be seeing a lot of you in Vancouver, but most importantly on the list before then. For those of you that haven't read this draft, please find it in your heart to do so, maybe on your plane ride home. And even if your email just says, yes, this is fine, this helps reassure us and the ADs that this document is ready to move forward. So even if you don't have any feedback, if all your feedback is it's fine, please just say so, like a short one-liner. All right, thanks for coming.
Thank you, Eric. And now you can go to where you really wanted to be. You still have time.
Something warmer.
Yeah, right?